Welcome, everyone, to Zoom into Books this afternoon. Today, we're talking with children's book author Robert Ernst. He is the author of Dr. Bob's Pondville series. He is a multi-award winning author, and he is a retired orthodontist who practiced in central Connecticut for more than 40 years. He was a first lieutenant during the Vietnam era before resuming his educational goals. His early career as an author began in the form of a storyteller. Known as Dr. Bob, he created tales about the animals that lived around the pond at Foxhill Acres, his home in Nova Scotia, Canada. His wife, Anne, convinced him to write down the stories in a series of books, and Dr. Bob's Pondville was created. Bob and Anne, welcome to Zoom into Books.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Kathy.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Let's start off. I know that you're a team. And how about if, as I understand, you're the publisher, Bob is the author. So tell us more about your role and how the teamwork works.
Yeah, be happy to. When we started off, we didn't know whether to look for a traditional publisher or do it ourselves. After some research, we decided to do it ourselves. And guess what? I became the publisher. And a lot of what I do is, I call it the back office. I run the team that we have. We have a team with an illustrator, an editor, and then a book designer. And of course, then we look into getting the website and all of that. So that's really my job, would you say?
Well, it's a big job.
Yeah, and then now it's more social media. And I'm always the first editor. And then we get it, so we say, oh yeah, makes sense. And then it goes out to the editor and takes off from there. So it's been great. We really are a team.
We certainly are.
Well, teamwork really can make it for a great project. And you've got quite a few books out now. I know that you're a very popular author. You travel quite a bit. So you have a complete series of chapter books. So I know that there's a lot of questions that we'll probably get from the viewers today. And anyone who is watching on the live stream on Facebook, if you have questions for Bob or Anne, please write them in the comments, and we'll make sure that they get all your questions answered before the end of the interview. So, how about telling us what led you to write the children's books so many years after your medical practice?
Well, it all started to where in my home in Canada, I did a lot of the landscaping. I took care of the gardens and all. And I had this young lady help me out. And she was really my right hand, was because it was a big project. And one day she called me. She said, I can't come in. And I go, oh, and I really needed it that day. And I said, what's the issue? Any problem or anything that I could do or we can do here? And she says, well, my mom can't babysit. Oh, I said, oh, that's okay. I said, bring them along and then we'll watch the kids while we're working. So from there, she brought the kids. They were 2, 4, 6, and 8. The 2 and 4-year-olds were boys, and 6 and 8-year-olds were girls. And they were the most lovable kids that you could ever want to lay hands on.
You could take them right home.
Oh,
yeah.
They were adorable. And so one day, after we finished working out in the yard, I came up, we wanted to have lunch. And I watched the girls, they sat the boys down, they put their napkins down, and then they all said a little prayer, and then they had their lunch. And I was very impressed the way the girls took care of the boys. And after lunch, the little 2-year-old comes over and tugs on my pants, and he goes, Bucka Bob, because he couldn't say Dr. Bob. He said, Bucka Bob, tell me a story. And I went, oh, okay. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, there's a lot of frogs down at the pond today. So I said, oh, there's a frog down there. His name is Harry. And I just caught him the other day. He was riding his Harley motorcycle around the pond, and he was racing around and having one heck of a time. And the 6-year-old girl went, frogs don't ride motorcycles. And I looked at her and I said, in my world, they do. And that's where it started. And
I know
so what happened from there.
I know that kids have a great imagination, and I know that your stories, I can see the look on that little girl's face. Dogs don't, or frogs don't ride motorcycles. I think that's great. So how many books do you have out now?
We have 5, and I'm starting a 6th book now, and we're kind of holding off a little bit on that to get our feet settled a little bit. But we hope to have one out maybe in another year or so.
Do you do about a book a year? Is that
We were doing about a book a year, and we said, this is the time to really maybe focus more on getting out there more with the books because we've had such good reception. And I don't know if I mentioned to you, his whole series won the Mom's Choice Award, the gold.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think that what I like about the books, because I'm a great reader, is um, you see, you don't have to read them in order, but there are key characters that are in every book. So you know that you get to know those characters. And I think for a child reading, that's a really important thing. And then they get a few new characters.
Yeah, each book has a new character or a character or two that are brought in to bring a different perspective on the Pondville itself, the pond
Yeah,
itself.
right.
So what's the main theme of your books? I mean, do they have most children's books have educational content, lessons, values and virtues, whatever. What is your main goal that you want to achieve with your books with kids?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about the themes and then you want to talk about your goal, because it tells a little bit about his background too. Every one of the books has a theme about friendship and caring for one another and community. And they all have lessons. And, they're not in your face lessons, but they have really good lessons. I'll just give one example and he can show you the books after. In Harry and the Hooligans, these kids, they all, well, we think of them as kids. They're all animals.
They're anthropomorphic figures.
Yeah, and they they were hanging out and they thought, "Oh, wouldn't it be fun to rob the grocery store?" And then they did, and they found out there are consequences. But they also found out that if you can be regretful and sorry, you'll be given another chance. So I like that they all have different themes. They all one of them from and then I'll be quiet, give the author his time. When in the hurricane, one of the new characters is
Alligator Joe,
well, there's Alligator Joe, and then there are 2 pelicans,
Pelican Pete.
and Pelican Sawyer, and Sawyer is terrified of the storms and the noise. And it really shows how his 2 friends, the alligator and the other pelican, consoled him and made him feel he wasn't stupid for being afraid. And I just love that because we live in Florida. We have hurricanes and no matter where you live, there are frightening things happening. So that's it.
Same thing as tornadoes and, around the country. But
The
Do,
theme.
do you have your books with you that you could hold up some covers
yeah, this is my
while you're
first book,
talking?
and that's
Okay.
Hurry Up, Harry. And my second book is
The
Harry
whole,
the Hooligans.
and that's where Harry becomes the sheriff. You can tell I know the books intimately.
I'm sure you do.
And this is Harry Saves Wreck, and this is the sheriff's car. And he was in a junkyard, and they needed a police car, and they didn't have enough money to buy a brand new one. So they went to the junkyard to get the old one. And it's hilarious because he's sitting there, birds pooping on him, and feeling sorry for himself, and nobody loves him anymore, and blah, blah, blah. And what happens? They bring him out and they fix him up, and it's how else could I say that? But it's so funny,
It's so funny, and there's a lot of ingenuity too, because the way they figure out how to fix him up. There is a resident genius, Ludwig.
And then we have Harry and the Kidnappers, and this is about a pack of wolves stealing their professor, who's the brains of the whole operation in Pondville. And again, that's another hilarious story because here that the wolves have the main character held up in a castle
Yeah.
with a moat around and a drawbridge, and then there's an attack that they kidnap the heroine in Pondville.
Yeah, Sally,
Yeah.
strong woman, and I
Strong
love
woman.
that because it's a good example for girls too.
And then we have Harry in the Hurricane, and that's the one we just talked about.
Yeah.
And I love that one. There's
Your
a lot of
last book is always your
yeah,
favorite.
every book that I wrote was my favorite. And so I try to
Well,
express
the,
love
the,
and companionship.
the hurricane book, do you have some hurricane preparedness in there for kids? I mean, are you talking about the anxiety that the kids would have?
Yeah, I do touch upon it, how the town prepared for the storm to come in and how to hunker down and tie
Yeah.
things down and so they don't blow away. Yes, we do
Yeah,
cover that.
one good thing about the books, again, I'm very proud, is that there's a discussion guide in all of them at the end. So that is so good for the kids. And we have a map in the front of Pondville. Well, it's right behind us, the map, but each book has the map there so the kids can refer back to things. So
That's great. I
yeah.
saw that map. I saw that map in the background, and that gives kids identity of where everybody lives and what's going on. Would
Yeah.
you like to read an excerpt from a couple of your favorite books and show us the illustrations?
Yeah, let me
Who is your illustrator?
It's Rose E. Greer Evans. Here's a good one. You want to show it to her?
yeah. There's an illustration right there where they're getting blown up and sucked up into a tornado, and they're whirled around. And uh, I'll just read a quick excerpt here. Within a few minutes, the sky had turned black and the wind was blowing hard. The air around it was gray and the wind swirled round and round. Flashes of lightning dashed off the water. A very loud clap of thunder was followed by several more. Sawyer jumped up and cried out, "I'm scared, really terrified." He shut his eyes and his swept his wing across his forehead. No, I'm scared too, Pete said, Pelican Pete said. I can feel the feathers on the back of my neck standing up straight. Joe raised himself, and Joe was the alligator with his front legs. Let's all calm down now, guys, and let's head back for the shack. As they got up from their lounge chairs, a strong gust of wind blew the straw hat decorated with flowers off his head, and he goes, "Yikes!" he yelled, reaching out for his hat and catching it before it could blow into the Atlantic Ocean. Sawyer screamed, "Let's hightail it out of here." "Right on," said Pete. "Right on." To their surprise, the whipping gust of wind swept over, engulfed all three, lifting up into the sky, and Sawyer yelled on, "Hang on! Hang on to what?" And on the story goes, and they get blown up into Canada from Florida.
Yeah, so
That's wonderful. That's great. Are all your books in black and white
Yes, they are.
or
Yeah.
line drawings? That's great. Kids love that.
yeah.
So I have one question here. They want to know, I guess you should tell us about your website. Do you have a question on how to get in touch with you?
Well, through the website, they can get in touch with us. There's a contact portion of the website, which is drbobstales.com. And also we can give you his email right now, if that would be helpful.
Well, I've posted the links for everyone who's listening in the comments on the Facebook comments. So you can go to drbobstales.com and to get in touch with them. So do you do school visits and do you speak at events? Are you available for that?
Yes, I do. We have one coming up now, McDonald House, Ronald McDonald's house, this at the end of this week. So, and then we have several other
Several other
sessions.
things. Yeah, and we have well, the library. There's a local library. They have a book fair every year, and it's great because you really get to really touch base with the kids that are coming in. So we would like to do more of them. I say we because I'll be doing the getting everything ready. But I think it would be great because um, kids like you, and I think they'd like us to bring our puppy along with us.
Do you have a book about your puppy?
He's in our website. Um, I'm going to bring him into my new book because he's 2 years old now.
His name is Mikey, and he's on social media with you a lot. Yeah. So that it's been very special. I don't know, Kathy, if we have more time, but one of the things I think you're passionate about is getting kids to read because you didn't read as a child.
That's right. I never picked up a book, not even in high school.
And he wasn't read to either.
And I was never read to. And well, my parents, we were very poor, and that just wasn't their way of life. My dad worked 3 jobs just to put food on the table, so I came from that kind of background.
Yeah. And so I came from, we weren't rich or anything like that, but there were books everywhere in our house. And I'd say, there are no books. And so you're anxious to get kids who are reluctant readers to start reading.
That's so important. I happened to publish an author who was that way. They had not a single book in the house. And when she got to first grade and discovered the library, it was eye-opening. And there are kids, and they're not all just in rural areas either. So this is a great message, and that's a great story for you to tell. because it's very inspirational.
Mm.
And you live in Nova Scotia, is that right?
Half of the time, that was our vacation home.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Where
So
do you
that
live?
was our, um,
When we retired, we lived 6 months up there and 6 months down here in Florida.
before that,
Right.
Connecticut. So,
And my practice was in Connecticut, and I did that over 40 years in central Connecticut.
That's great because I know that kids, if they don't get it at home, they have to get it in first grade, second
exactly.
grade. And once they discover the hidden world in books, it's
Yeah.
eye-opening for them. I am sure you are an inspirational speaker. I have another question here. Um, they want to know what advice you have because you've gone the, I guess, the self-publishing route. Um, even though
Mhm.
you have a author and a publisher. The question is how to get started when you've written a children's book. What advice can you give people?
Well, talk to everybody about it and start researching. Do things like joining the children's, I forget, the Society for Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. And we found people just uh, by asking questions and going on the internet and looking at who's who. And then one person, I'll give you a good example. We found a wonderful designer who, by the way, was the author of the Pelican Pete series of books that were very well accepted. Um, and our first illustrator said, you know what, I need to get a full-time job. So he went back to teaching. And we were like, what do we do? And so our designer, Fran, said, I have a few names for you. So we talked to a few people, and it just, the more you talk about it, right?
Yeah, the more people you can talk to, um, like FAFA, we joined that uh,
Gold medal winner at FAFA.
gold medal winner on all four of the books, and we met people there, and we talked with people, and you just have to get yourself out there and talk to as many people as you can, because you're going to hit a couple good ones, and all of a sudden that'll help you just to get it going.
Yeah, I would say no matter where you live, if you find out there's some sort of a group like that, like
Right.
Florida Authors and Publishers, or join and you'll meet.
Absolutely. And every state has a writers group. I know I
Yes.
live in West Virginia. We have West Virginia writers, and they have an annual conference. You mentioned SCBWI, the Society of
Mm.
Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, which is a terrific organization. So if you have written a children's book and you need an illustrator, there's several sources like
Yeah,
that to find a great illustrator. And the more you do, the more you go, the more people you meet.
it's true.
And
Exactly.
conferences are terrific. I was talking with Ann and Bob about possibly coming to the American Library Association conference, and it'll be in Philadelphia at the end of June. And for those of you who are beginning, if you can go to any conferences like that, that's some of the best networking that you can do, which Bob and Ann have found out. Um, I have another question for you. Someone wants to know what your favorite book is.
Again, that's a hard one. Um, they're all good. That everyone has a story that really gets to my heart, you know, and um, I don't know.
I think it's Harry and the Hurricane.
The last one I did.
He's in love with the alligator.
Alligator Joe.
Who's just a delightful character.
He's a fun guy to be around. And he's a no-nonsense guy on top of it.
So there's a lot of children's books that have animals as the main characters instead of people. Talk to the viewers about that. Why did you choose animals rather than kids?
That's a real good question. And, you know, when I think about it, how do you reach a youngster and get them to listen and get them to internalize what you're saying? And one of the things that children react to are animals, your cat, your dog. Um, uh, when I was raising my children, I used to have these carvings made out of lamps. They were raccoons, squirrels, pheasants. And when my kids would act up, um, somehow I would find out what they did. And I'd say, all right, you guys, you did this and this. I wanted to stop and go, well, how did you find out? Well, the raccoon over there told me. And all of a sudden now they're looking at the raccoon. And I got them convinced that these statues or these carved animals were telling me secrets. And they got a message from an animal.
Mm.
And so that was my point of
Yeah.
using animals. Animals are a great source for reaching children.
I agree. It's also the most diverse group you can get. I mean, if you're looking for diversity in a children's book, animals will do it. You've got elephants and raccoons, or, and I know you said that the theme of your books is friendship and kindness. And I think that we can't have too many books like that ever.
Well, to illustrate what you said, in one of the books, it talks about the bear and the skunk are best friends. Now, you couldn't find too many polar opposites. One smelled better than the other, apparently, but they were best friends and cared about one another and spent time together. So it's neat. You are so right.
Yeah, that's great. And children can readily identify with animals too,
Mm.
sometimes. So what is your target age group for your books?
We hit from 8 to 12.
8 to 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The younger kids can be read to, and they'll get the same impact as an 8 to 12-year-old. But reading to them, you can always stop and explain things to them. But and some of the older kids, believe it or not, love the books too, because there are great
Yes.
messages in there.
Mm.
And for example, we were at a fair one time and we had this.
Oh,
Why don't you tell that story? That was
yeah.
really good.
There's a special needs child, and he was a big boy. He was probably about 20, and his mother had purchased one of the books for him. And so we were at the library, and Bob, you were in a roundtable discussion at the time, and I was sitting there, and this boy who, I mean, he had to be at least 6 feet tall. And he said, "You're Dr. Bob." He thought I was Dr. Bob, and I didn't correct him at all. "I love your books. I love your books. Mom, I want another one." And he just, it was so touching. And another author sitting nearby he said, "That brought tears to my eyes."
Oh,
That little boy was so happy. Um, so and a friend of ours who has a grandson who's special needs, and she bought the books for him, and he loves things like that. So, and some of them, one person told us their special needs child started coloring the illustrations. That's fine. Whatever they want to do, you know.
They were black and white.
And so,
And like I say, that's a perfect example of how to reach a child and get them and connect them.
mm,
That is so true. And they're like middle grade chapter books then.
yes.
Is
Yeah.
that right? And those
Yeah.
are very popular. Now we have a COVID generation,
I know.
and these kids are so far behind that books like yours are ideal for fifth, sixth, seventh, even eighth grade, I
Yeah.
would say. I have a niece who just turned 16, and she was talking about how hard it was to get through COVID and that books have helped so many kids.
Mm,
And between the hardship of not being in school and special needs kids, I would urge everyone watching to check out their website, Dr. Bob's Tales. We're just about out of time. I was going to ask you what your most favorite moment is with your books, but you may have just told me that. And that's a great story because we do reach all ages.
yes.
And your books are great for the family. For the adults who are reading, they're going to enjoy the story too. So we've talked about the content and the benefits. So I'll ask you a question about what do you hope to achieve with your books? I know we've talked about a couple things, but what do you see in the near future for you? And tell us about the new book a little bit that's coming out too, please.
The new book, right now, um, I'm addressing the fires, like in California, the fires around the country, and how to protect yourself and what are the things you can do. And then we're talking about the mudslides, bringing those in, and a lot of different aspects about what's happening today. And I'm trying to make it so that kids can relate to what's happening today, and they can see what's happening, and they'll get the message.
That's so true. There's a lot of traumatic events going on now, and anything that can bring comfort and information. So books about current events, that takes a lot of research. And I know we always get questions from new authors about how do you research these topics. So for the fires and the mudslides, um, just give us a brief overview of how you do your research for that.
Well, actually, the news and the newspapers, and that's really my main source, you know.
Do you interview people? Talk to fire chiefs? And I'm sure you do, fire chiefs, and maybe response time you don't want to get too detailed in a children's book, but it kind of gives you um, the information that you need maybe to impart facts.
That's correct, because even with our local sheriff,
Mm,
we've met with him, and he's given us some information on how they handle a lot of the traumas and accidents and things that happen.
yeah.
So,
And I think giving people a second chance too. And
yeah,
if
he was big on second chances.
and we like that. It feels really good. The other thing I was thinking, I should mention in Harry and the Hurricane, there's a sinkhole. And I think the main research was about sinkholes was from the internet. I mean, it's,
Yeah, how does a sinkhole happen?
and
And
things,
I kind of explained that. Alligator Joe is an expert on these sinkholes and how to prepare for them and how to prevent them and how to stop it from happening again. And he teaches the whole town of Pondville. He gets them all together and they all pull together and they take this monstrous sinkhole and they build it back up and make it all normal again. And have the,
Yeah.
I think the town hall was ready to fall in the sinkhole. And
So that's,
there's humor with it too.
yes, yes. And that's action adventure and kids like that.
They
Yes,
do.
they do. You have a problem and you need to solve it. I think that's great. Well, one more time, just let people know how to get in touch with you before we close.
To go to your website, drbobstales.com. And even on the website, there's a way to contact him and way to look at the books in more depth. So I think that's it.
And your books are available on your website. Are they available on Amazon and other bookstores?
They are available on Amazon. There's a direct link there. We're probably, so this is in quotes, probably going to have them available right from our website and maybe even sign books from the website.
That's great.
And we're also going to sign up with bookshop.org, which feeds the independent bookstores and people who want another pathway to go. So I know you can get them online from stores like Barnes and Noble and so forth, but the website right now takes you to Amazon.
Well, that's great. Well,
Yeah.
Ann and Bob, thank you so much for joining us on Zoom into Books today. Thank you, viewers, for watching. This video will be available on the Zoom into Books Facebook page. You can watch it anytime. And in the coming weeks, it'll also be on the Zoom into Books YouTube channel. And when's your date for the Ronald McDonald House?
Next
Friday, I think.
Friday. Yeah,
Yeah,
this
this
coming
Friday.
Friday. So that's
The
I can't-
14th. That's great.
14th. Thank you. Yes,
That's
the
great.
14th. Yeah,
Well,
we're
thank
very
you so
excited
much.
about it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And when the new book comes out, please let us know and we'll have you back and have you read a portion of that too.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And we'll see you next time.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.